This conference will now be recorded.
So, rainfall we had seen last class, rainfall or irrigation. Plants use a tremendous amount of water. So, based on the amount of the water available in that area, you can plan the cultivation. Like if it is rain-fed area, means you are dependent on the rain, then it has to be go with the only the plants which will have a which requires less amount of water, like paddy, all this. This needs more amount of a water, then you have to go with the sugar cane, paddy, all this. So, like eucalyptus, you need not to put a water itself. It will just take off the ground level water. Means in deep into that, roots will go deep into that, and it will sucks the water. And actually, this eucalyptus will reduce the water content of the surrounding area also. So you should be very careful when you are planting the trees in that particular area. So it is like heavy rain, then coconut you can put, and less one you can always go with the acacia where it doesn't require the water itself. So this is the one. So the you can see senna requires less amount of the water uh, compared to the other cinnamon, cinchona, and the ravolfia. They need more ravolfia, so it needs a 500 centimeter of the rainfall, whereas senna needs that's why senna is grown in the Tamil Nadu. This is about the rainfall and the irrigation. This I've explained in the last class. Coming to the soil and soil fertility, I want you to copy this table. Copy this. So study of soil is called pedology. The soil is the shallow upper layer of the Earth's crust, so which is formed by the weathering of the rocks. You know now when the rain comes, the weathering takes place on the rocks, and even the upper layer of the soil will just get drained out. It will go in the rivers and it will get deposited in the sea. That's why before getting deposited in the sea, sometimes whatever those deposits near the sea, that soil they'll take it and replace back into the field so that it is rich in the manure, and it is a fertile soil which will give a high yield crops. And without adding any other manures or the organic manures, the synthetic organic manures, this can be utilized. So the see the soil upper layer is Earth's crust is known as I mean whatever that fertility of that soil is, we consider it, not the inside that. So it is enriched with nutrients and decaying organic matter. That's why you whatever the organic matter is there, that can be usually dug into the just the upper layer of the soil, and you just leave it, allow it to decay it, and it becomes a good manure. But usually it will get absorbed by the plants. So the study of soil is called the pedology. The soil is the shallow upper layer of the earth crust and is enriched with the nutrients and decaying organic matter. The role of soil in plant growth is It plays major role, and especially first and foremost thing of the soil is it holds the plant. It gives an a base, or it gives that is the one where it plant grows on that. So the holding of a plant is soil. Later the soil gives a water, the soil gives a nutrients to that. So this is a major. Without the nutrients and the water, the probably it will not carry out the photosynthesis. So that is a major one. And now sometimes see we don't do the crop rotation itself to enrich the nutrients of that. Before what they used to do, see probably now I've grown a sugarcane. Sugarcane is an year crop. When I do it next year, what I have to do another 6 months, either I have to grow the groundnut or the till, which the groundnut, what happens when you are growing a groundnut, it fixes the nitrogen and the soil becomes the rich in the nitrogen, and you can grow the sugarcane in the other after 6 months. So the yield will be more. Nowadays we are not doing a crop rotation only. So every time when you are doing the nitrogen means sugarcane, it will just whatever the nutrients it want, it will just extract it from the soil. Once it get extracted, what nothing will be there for its next crop. Probably this year and continuously I've grown the sugarcane 5 years. 6th year probably it will not have any nutrients to absorb from the soil. What we have to do that time, we will add the other nutrients, organic nutrients from the outside, so synthetic nutrients which is not good for health. So instead of that, you can always go with the groundnut or the till. Sometimes what they'll do, till usually will be in a capsule type. They'll take off those till's upper part and they'll grow those to the soil, so that it'll decompose. It'll go into the plow. When you're plowing, it'll just go into the deep into the, not very deep into the deep below the upper layer of the soil. After some days, it decays and it becomes a good manure. Same with the coconut, groundnut also. It fixes the nitrogen. Apart from that, once you pluck, groundnut grows below the soil. Once you pluck it, the groundnut will be there. You take the groundnut and just put back the same plant into the soil. That time again you plow it, so it goes below the upper layer of the soil. It becomes a good manure to the field. So we are not doing that to enrich the fertility of the soil. So what happens, the soil whatever is there, it is becoming a, it's just the useless. It doesn't contain anything except that it is holding the plant, means it is acting as a base for the plants. Apart from that, nothing else. So for that, what we are doing, we are putting all the, or giving, supplying the organic nutrients, which is not good at all. At least we should educate the farmers that the crop rotation has to be done. So depending on the size of the mineral matter of the soil, it is classified into four. That is fine clay, coarse clay, fine sand, and coarse sand. So fine clay is less than 0.002 millimeter, and it will be fine clay where you make the potteries. So actually, it holds the more amount of the water. When it holds the more amount of the water, few plants will cannot grow because they undergo the decaying. The other one is 0.0022 to 0.02 mm. This is a coarse clay, or we call it as a silt. This is to an extent maximum of a plant grows because it is neither it holds more amount of the water nor it just drains out. In case of the coarse sand, the fourth one, it's just that drains out. It's only the palm grows or something like a desert plant grows. Whereas in fine sand also many of the plant grows where it to an extent 60% of the water will be hold. It holds the 60% of the water, and many plants grows in that way. So the coarse clay or silt and the fine sand is very suitable for the maximum of the plant. So coarse clay is 0.02 to 0.010 you are removing in the. So if you remember fine clay, coarse clay, fine sand, coarse sand. 10 you are removing, 002 to 02. Later 02 to this a point, then 0.2 to 2 mm. So it is easy to remember for you. You have to remember this. So type of a soil. Next, this is depending on the size of the soil or the size of the matter what is present. Here you can see depending on the percentage of the clay present in the soil. Means fine amount of a clay, what I said, the fine powder. Based on that, it is clay, loamy, silt loamy, sandy loamy, and sandy. So clay, it contains a more than 50% of the clay, then it is called as a clay. Then loamy, 30 to 50%. Silt loamy, 20 to 30%. Sandy loamy, then it is 10 to 20% of the clay soil. Clay soil is present. Rest, it might be a sand or anything. So, but clay is present in the exactly in the clay. It contains more than amount 50% of that. So and that's why means if you just put your leg or anything on that, it's slightly you can just slip. Means it is very fine. That's why we make it pottery. It is because it binds well. So loamy, then silt loamy, sandy loamy, and sandy. Sandy contains more than 70% of the sand soil or the sand. So apart from this, you can see that there are another classification: calcareous soil, laterite soils, and the peat soil. This calcareous soil contains more than 20% of the lime. So it usually contains a uh, white in color. That is based on its color, we can say. So it's calcareous, means it is rich in the calcium. Lime is nothing but the calcium carbonate. So it is rich in the calcium, and a few plants needs rich of calcium. Those plants can be grown in this. So it contains more than 20% of the lime, and usually its pH will be more and whitish in color. Coming to the laterite soil, high percentage of iron and the aluminum is present. High percentage of iron and the aluminum, that is red in color. Peat soil, 80 to 90% of the humus, darker in color, highly porous in nature. See, peat soil rich in the humus. Humus is the what I was talking about. So the organic matter is taken and it is put below the soil, and it undergoes a decaying. This undergoes a decaying that we call it as a manure. That is nothing but the humus. So humus later it is converted into the manure. This it contains 80 to 90% of the humus. This will be highly porous in nature, where it can exchange the air. So aeration will be good, and the amount of the manure present will be good. So the plant grows very well. So humus darker in color and highly porous in nature. Since it is highly porous in nature, porous in the sense, I think you understand what is porous. Pores will be present in that. Highly porous in nature. That's why the aeration will be good. Once the aeration is good, there is an spreading of our roots down. So as the root spreads properly, so it absorbs more amount of the manure and the nutrients and the water. So it grows big. So this is very important. There are three types of classification. The next first one is based on the size. This is very easy to remember. This also you can copy. This is depending on the percentage of the clay. The clay, you know, it is a less than 0.002 mm. That is called the clay. That clay, amount of the clay present in the soil, we know it is classified into clay, loamy, silt loamy, sandy loamy, and the sandy soil. And apart from this, based on its color, one is white in color, red in color, and porous. And you can see sometimes it will be, if you go to the mangrove side, it will be red in color, the soil. So that is laterite soil, we call it as. And if you go to the North Karnataka, to an extent, we can see the peat soil, which is in a darker in color, brownish in color. In South Karnataka, you can see the whitish in color, almost whitish brown little bit. That is calcareous soil. It is a whitish in color, rich in the calcium or the lime. Laterite soil, high percentage of iron and the aluminium, so it is red in color. Aluminium and the iron red. Always you can see the what is it, iron red. Peat soil is 80 to 90% of the humus. I've explained what is a humus. The organic matter is what is that, buried under the first layer of the soil. You just put, no, you know how to make a manure, they'll tell. So leave it for some days, it will become a good manure. That is called as a humus. So see, in the wildly grown, what we say that wild plant it grows, not the cultivated one. See, if it grows, nobody will access that much. So whatever the leaves fall on that, it will be just left out there. it'll get decayed. The rain will fall on that water. After water, it will get decayed and it will get absorbed to the soil itself. Means it undergoes decay. Since here in the cultivation, what we do is we don't allow them to be there, because as a weed, we just remove it, whatever we maintain it neat for the quality purpose. So when you're doing that, you can always prepare separately. So whatever this organic matter is there, whatever the organic means which undergoes decaying, that can be taken, made into a small pit nearby the farm, then put all this organic matter, then close it off with the soil for a few days. So after that, if you take it out, then it gives a good humus, which is actually a good for the plants. So examples for the sandy soil is means the plant grows in sandy soil is vinca digitalis, quill, ginger, dill. Ginger also, it doesn't require much amount of the water. If you put more amount of the water, first of all it is rhizome, it will get undergo the decay, means it will degrade. Coming to the loamy soil, opium and the glycerizer. So loamy soil, it is 30 to 50% of the silt is present. Clay loamy, Ravolfia, loamy sand is Isabgol. You understood? Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No,
So depending on the percentage of organic matter present in the soil, it is classified as this poor soil, rich soil, intermediate soil. It is very easy to classify based on the organic matter. Poor soil, which contains a less than 0.5% of the organic matter. Rich soil, it contains a more than 1.5 to 5% of the organic matter, and the intermediate is 0.5 to 1.5% of the organic matter. See, if it contains more organic matter or the more humus also, it will become too porous. Many plants doesn't require more amount of the aeration. So each plant, see, we might be human beings. Ultimately, we are all human beings, but each individual likings and the requirement for body is different. Like that, even for the plants also, they might be of a plants, but there are different varieties of a plants. Each plant requires a different amount of a organic matter. So based on that, it is cultivated. So poor soil, rich soil, intermediate soil. Then based on the size is there, based on the presence of the clay. Then based on the color. So first one is based on the size. It is the fine clay, coarse clay, fine sand, and the coarse sand. Based on the clay, it is there clay, loamy, silt loamy, sandy loamy, and sandy. Based on the color, calcareous, then laterite and the peat soil. And the fourth one is based on the organic matter present. It is the poor soil, rich soil, and the intermediate soil. So here, water holding capacity is very important. Like for few plants, water holding should be there, whereas for the tea, you usually see that tea will be grown in the slopy land, because whatever the water comes, it has to just drain off. It means it needs just of water, or just you have to show the water and take it off, like that it should be there. So by chance, if it rains also, what will happen in the hilly area, it just drains out. That's why the tree doesn't require much of water, so it is grown in the hilly area. So what is this absolute water holding capacity? It is the maximum amount of the water that remain in the soil after the excess has drained away. Means the capacity of the soil that holds the water once the water is drained away. So absolute water capacity is higher in colloidal or the clay soil, that is around the 40 to 40.91, means 41%, and in coarse sand it's only the 13% or less than 13% in the coarse sand, whereas in the clay above the 41%. So holding capacity is there. So air capacity, it is inversely proportional to the, means as the holding capacity of the water is more, the air capacity will be less. That is inversely proportional to the absolute water capacity. In clay soil, its capacity, air capacity is less, because the porosity will be less. If you have seen the clay soil, it just makes as a paste. So it will have a less porosity and less air capacity. Whereas in the sand, so it will be porous in nature, so water capacity means air can penetrate into this. So in the sand, the more penetration, whereas in case of sandy loamy also the air capacity will be good. To an extent, slit loamy also the air capacity will be of to an extent it will be good. So based on that, we once you are growing any plant, you have to look into all these factors where it will be helpful for the growth and development of the plant. So, coming to the clay, it consists of the finest particles. This provides the soil adhesive and cohesive properties. It also holds the plant nutrients. Depending on the mineral content in the soil, it is classified into calcareous, laterite, and peat soil. This already we have seen. Calcareous means which rich in the calcium carbonate, laterite which is rich in the aluminium and iron, and the peat soil which is more porous, which is rich in the humus. So it is in a domestic fuel, consists of partly decayed plant materials. It is porous, dark in nature. Laterite, you can see it contains all the minerals, especially the iron and the aluminum. Apart from that, it also contains a magnesium. So it usually laterite soil is found in higher altitudes, and the calcareous soil, you can see it is a calcium carbonate, white in color, and especially for xerophytic plants, it is good for aloe vera. All this. So one more important is the pH of the soil, like how we have a different pH in the mouth, with the skin, and the blood, in the stomach. See, slight changes in the pH of your skin also it causes a dryness. It causes and it attracts the infections. Slight change in the mouth of the pH is also causes a many enormous problems, dryness of the mouth. It might be or itching of the throat. So in the blood also, by change one microorganism infects your blood, it changes the pH. So the overall body will get affected. In the take a gastric pH only, probably a slight increase in the pH, so it will again causes the drastic, it will causes irritation. There will be an vomiting or the ulcer in that. So even the pH of the soil is very important, which we don't give any importance nowadays. The pH of the soil decides favorable growth of the plant and the microorganisms. The maximum availability of a plant nutrient is in between the pH range 6.5 to 7.5. If you maintain the pH 6.5 to 7.5, you will have a maximum nutrients. So as you increase the pH, probably the above the 7.5, probably you will not have any nutrients, or it may not be required. And if you make it as a more acidic also, the proper pH is 6.5 to 7 point. Depending upon the pH, soil is divided into again the neutral soil, slightly acidic soil, and alkaline. Alkaline, acidic, neutral, and slightly acidic soil. So in the neutral soil, peppermint and opium is grown. Slightly acidic soil, dill is grown. Acidic soil deficient in calcium and digitalis grows well. And alkaline soil, calcifilus, means that is calcium carbonate is there. Isabgol at the cotton grows. Alkaline, acidic soil, you can see it is a deficient of calcium. Digitalis grows well. Slightly acidic, probably the less amount of calcium is present. Um, so that is the neutral. There is the pH 7, which is actually the good. See, your actual pH should be around the 6.5 to 7.5. pH 7 is the excellent one. So where the opium and the peppermint grows. So coming to the fertilizers are very important, without which you will not get. See, we nowadays we say that see we there is a deficient of manganese, and that's why you are graying of air. There is a deficient of this zinc. That's why the graying of air. I mean, these are all the micronutrients what we call. So these micronutrients we get it from the fruits and vegetables. Probably we are eating. Everyone you ask, usually they say that we eat the maximum amount of these fruits and vegetables, but still how it can be the zinc and the deficiency of the zinc and the manganese occurs. So probably what we are having, the fruits and vegetables may not have these nutrients because see we are not supplying those nutrients for them to grow. So once you are not supplying, it is not there in the plants. They are not absorbing it and they are not able to synthesize them, or it cannot be stored in them. So why we are not supplying? Because we are thinking that it is there in the soil. To be in the soil also, we have to do the crop rotation. If you don't do the crop rotation or you don't supply humus or organic matter, how it will be there? See, we have to think before doing anything. So at least you have to see the crop rotation. This time I have grown this, so the crop will not contain the, so let me do this. If this is a papaya plantation, means papaya plantation only, nothing else. Alternatively you have to grow along with that some rhizome plant where it will fix the nitrogen, so the papaya will absorb from that. So papaya, whatever it grows, it will have all the nutrients what we want. But what we do, no, no, this is a papaya plantation. Alternatively, will not grow along with that, nothing. So the plantation will be very near. You cannot go alternative crop only. We see we here in India, since it is a thick population, we don't plan at all. So that is a one major thing. So probably we are not getting, but these are the few nutrients which is very much essential for the plant growth. Iron for enzyme activity, zinc synthesis of auxin, this is an hormones and enzyme. Boron synthesis of glutamine, this is an amino acid. Copper synthesis of ascorbic acid. Manganese formation of chlorophyll and the photosynthesis. Molybdenum synthesis of tannins also for the nitrogen fixation. These are the a few micronutrients which is required for the plant. These are the macronutrients. The macronutrients are the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen to the formation of the cell, and very essential nitrogen synthesis of the protoplasm. Means a plant has to grow big, or the bushy, means each cell has to multiply. Each cell has to multiply means the cell needs to be a cell wall, protoplasm, everything. So you can see the cell form, it constituent of protoplast. Calcium control permeability of the membrane, potassium enzyme activity, magnesium enzyme and the photosynthetic activity. So macro and micronutrients has to be supplied to the plant. So as you supply these nutrients, plant grows, and whatever we get it from that, definitely will have a required amount of the secondary metabolites. Examples of the fertilized used for certain plant: opium nitrates of soda, black pepper, potash, ammonium sulfate, phosphates, cattle compost. Apart from this, cattle compost is the best one what we can use as a good manure. Digitalis. See, we use all these additional ones because that soil doesn't contain. If you need a nitrates, do the alternative cropping. So this time you grow the leguminous plants, any leguminous. The drug belong to the leguminaceae family. You grow once, then remove that, then grow the digitalis. Probably then addition of nitrates is not required, which we are not doing. That's why from externally we are giving the nitrates, superphosphates, everything. So we'll do this test in the next class for you. For in the 3 minutes, I'll just go through the what you have to be prepared. I didn't like you without preparation coming, and you will not even answer to me when I ask also. So probably I thought you will read. So I'll not much bother about taking a test. So your test will be there on the classification, and the second one is on the, where is this, cultivation collection. So disadvantages, you can see, I think you can see the slide.
Yes,
Hey,
ma'am.
honestly, yeah. Disadvantages of wild plant cloud. This I want you to read. Advantages of cultivated herbs. I want you to read. I have
Ma'am,
explained
one
that.
more time, disadvantages, ma'am.
Huh?
Okay.
Excuse me? Oh no, I know you're taking a this one. I don't want you to take advantages of cultivated one. So this I want you to read. At disadvantages of wild plant cultivation and advantages of wild plant collection, and advantages of this cultivated plant, disadvantages of cultivated plants. Okay, disadvantage of this is a cultivated plant. Okay, this is the one, cultivation. There are two methods, sexual method, asexual method. Right? Clear?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
See, why I'm not allowing you to take is I'm telling you to write the class notes. If the class notes is there, it is very easy. Each point I'm explaining, by then you can write, you can listen and write, which you are not doing, you people. So next class, you are all coming 10 minutes online. As soon as you are coming, 10:35. I have a 10:30, 10:35. You are coming, 10:45. You are finishing. Means 10:50. You are finishing your test. Whatever the question, I might ask this question only, or I might ask the classification itself. So you are writing it. I don't want you to copy. Clear? Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay then. Monday will, Wednesday will meet. Bye.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Bye.